The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sackheads Radio. Sackheads Radio.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
Hey!
I just turned the studio lights on. I don't know if you saw that.
It's October or something or other, 2014.
Like right when the music ended, I hit the status board lights.
The status board?
And well, you know where we're supposed to put the map of the world with pins?
The
that we
map's
haven't
over
put
there.
up yet? No, but it's supposed to be here.
I know.
And everybody can see where I'm pointing right now.
I know.
It's the beauty of radio. It's practically like TV, but completely different.
Totally different.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Are you going to intro us? Or
I
what?
am. I said welcome. You started just flapping your gums.
No, you couldn't even get the date out.
Oh, it's October 15, 2014. Welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show here on the SHR Media Network. Off to my right is the ever big nose Clint. Sitting across from us is a screaming Armenian, the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, Sacco.
Mostly he's screaming because we added restraints.
Right, the
to his
restraints actually kind of
this time caused him to scream.
Did you ever see the Da
bit.
Vinci Code? And you know the strap, I forget what it's called, but the priest was wearing that was killing everybody, and that's pretty much what it is. So that's on him. And I, of course, am your marble-mouthed co-host, Sackhead Sean. Thank you so much for joining us.
Marble mouth.
Marble mouth. What's wrong with
By the
marble
way,
mouth?
so nobody can see you, which makes the joke really kind of... So Sean walks into the studio wearing a merkin today.
Sunglasses. You mean sunglasses?
No. I meant merkin on the exterior of his clothes.
Oh, boy.
In memory of his great merkin statement of 2014.
Never going to live that down. Never going to live that down.
Which absolutely was hilarious. You've never caught it. You can catch it on our greatest hits show, which I think is coming out in about 7 years.
Oh, man.
So we're in a sandwich shop tonight.
We are in a sandwich shop this evening. A lot of funny things happen at the sandwich shop. This is why, and I know why Sacco doesn't go with us, because of the jackassery that's involved.
What are you talking about?
Well, because we're two idiots. I mean, let's
Right.
phrase it.
Right.
We are kind of morons.
No, we're freaking hilarious is what
And
we
we
are.
think we're funnier than we probably are.
No, that's not true because we get a laugh everywhere we go as soon as we walk in and they look at us.
They're laughing at us. There's
Okay.
zero doubt about that.
Okay.
But every week before the show, we go out for dinner together and kind of prep the show and all that. And Sacco,
Which makes it a tax write-off.
Right, absolutely, which is the whole reason why we do it.
Exactly.
Sacco hasn't been joining us, and I know why. I know what it is. He's embarrassed to be seen with us. He's embarrassed to be seen with us.
He is.
And it's sad because he misses a lot of good times.
A lot of good stories.
Tonight we didn't really have one. But I do have a story, though, from this week that, you know what? It's one of those things I'm embarrassed, but it's too funny
Is
not
this,
to
is
tell.
this from tonight when you stiffed the poor gal at the
I
sandwich
did
counter?
not. That was great. You are such a jerk. I'm not telling that story.
So,
No,
so Sean pays for his sandwich, and they have this new tablet flip register thing. I don't even understand how it works. But they swipe his card, and they kind of turn the whole screen towards him. And, hey, you know, she says specifically, if you'd like to leave a tip, you can push one of the buttons. And on there's like 15%, 18%, 21% or whatever. And then you sign it. And you push the button, and you sign with your finger, and then you flip the pad back around. And it doesn't show whether anybody left a tip or not. So Sean, the pad spins around, and she says, oh, and if you'd like to leave a tip, you can push the button and then sign it and turn it around. So Sean does this thing and turns around, and I said, wow, no tip, huh?
And the best part is I did leave a tip. But it's already
it was
past...
other 3%, I think, is what you put in there.
It's past the point where I can't go back to show that I did the tip. So all she's doing is taking your word for it, which is even worse.
And you said no receipt. And then she said, well, that's okay. Completely believing my lies and that you were a DB.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Already in the chat room, the abuse begins. Ken thought we were going to have another Viagra moment in the restaurant. We were not able to make that moment come up. Sorry.
Mostly because we didn't have any Viagra.
We did not have it.
Otherwise, we would have.
So I want to talk to all the parents out there for a moment. Just everyone.
Okay. Like everyone or just the parents?
All the parents.
Okay.
And non-parents will maybe understand, but real parents will understand. Like,
okay.
So you know how hard it is when you have kids to actually get a night out and actually have fun and, just kind of be adults. It happens very few and far between. So
it never happens.
My wife and I were invited to a housewarming party on Saturday.
Okay.
First time we've been out in a long time, so we were excited, sitter, the whole 9 yards, ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Get dressed. We ran around, did all the kids' stuff during the day. Get dressed, not to the 9s, but maybe 8.5s. We're pretty close. She takes her time. It's just nice. We stop. We get a housewarming gift. We're ready to have some nice dinner, food, adult fun. And we get in there, and we pull up in front of the house, and we look, and my wife goes, that doesn't look like there's a party going on there. So I look 2 doors down, and there's all these cars and people on the front lawn, and there's obviously a party going on there. So I said, oh, maybe I got the address wrong, or maybe it was sent to me wrong. So as I'm starting to walk down towards that other house, I see like a bride and groom come out the front door, and they start taking pictures. Well, I know that's not the right house because
wait. They try taking pictures of lemonade.
No, pictures of each other.
Pictures of milk.
Pictures.
Oh, okay.
Like click.
I'm
Pictures.
sorry, you had your Bostonian thing working again. I didn't understand.
Well, that's definitely not it. So I text the person whose house party it's supposed to be. It was actually Liberal Jake's, and so I said to Liberal, hey, confirm this address is right. Yes, great. We're here. Yeah, that's great. The party's not till tomorrow.
Huh.
I've never felt like a bigger idiot than to get my poor wife dressed up. I get dressed up. We get a sitter. We get out of the house. We actually make that night happen. And on to McDonald's for dinner is pretty much how it worked out. Home by 9.
And that was her choice.
She wanted to get away from me. She didn't care where she went. Oh, and then I realized something. And no matter what, I'm getting old. You don't do stuff like that when you're young. When you're young and you're single, you don't mistake what night and where the party is, right? Ever.
Well, that's because there's a party every night.
Right, but when you're 21, there's 0 questions asked. When somebody says, hey, there's a party at this address, this place, this time, it's ingrained into your memory for the week. You could be hitting the head with a hammer and still be able to prattle off that address and that time.
Yeah, but we just talked about it. There's a party every night and pretty much everywhere you're going to go anyway. So even if you hit the wrong address or the wrong date, there's probably a party there. Right?
Yep. You're right.
Okay.
But either way, it doesn't happen as much anymore.
Huh.
Oh, good times. Good times at my expense. It was worth every moment. I felt bad. I really did.
Did you splurge and go with the 20-piece nuggets?
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
We actually found a nice restaurant up the street from the studio that I know of. I've never eaten, but I've heard good things, and we ended up eating there. So it all was not lost.
Okay.
But it was.
I was going to ask, did you go in the play structure?
Yeah. At that point, I might as well. I just wanted to drive out by the college that's nearby and just look for a house party. And just be like, here we are.
Right. You know what, though?
Hey, you guys doing Jaeger shots? Cool. How's your 401k?
You'd get some kid saying, you're old.
No, that only happens to our good friend Pollywog. Hey, real quick, if you don't have a chance, shrmedia.com. Jersey Joe's latest show is on there, all about guns. Also, I want to send out well wishes to Jersey Joe's wife, who's in a car accident. She's doing pretty well. But our thoughts and prayers
Absolutely.
to them as well. And thank you, everyone in chat room, for being here this week. As you are every week, it is an honor and a privilege to sit here in front of you and prattle on like this about nothing important. I have the joy, as we speak, of watching Clint trying to figure out how to load chat roll on his computer. So we're just going to sit back, folks. Sako, can you videotape this? Because this is honestly like it's like a monkey looking at a geometry problem. Like
I actually thought you were going to quote Dodgeball. That was a perfect opportunity to quote Dodgeball because my hips are in fact thrusting.
Your hips are thrusting
because that's how you make the mouse move, right?
Yes. Oh man! So
I'm just sitting here. Forget it.
You know, we have a good show tonight. We really do. We have a 2A story that's going to warm your heart that we'll kick it all off with. We do have the Greenpeace attacking what they're supposed to be protecting. That's kind of a big one. Hammer
We
and
have
sickle
a
report.
hammer and sickle report.
Yep.
Here in the U.S.
We're going to catch up on
Ebola. Yeah.
ISIS update and more. So it's going to be a good show, and I want to.
What's the and more? That's everything on the board. You just
and
rattle
more is
it
the
off.
wrap up.
Oh,
and if you want to read our board, you can go to twitter.com/sackheads, and you can see a great picture of my co-host over here holding the board, ready to roll.
by the way,
Yes, sir.
the sandwich shop gal
Yes.
nailed the accent tonight.
Yeah. And one word. All I had to say is over where.
Yeah.
And I said over where, and she looked right at me and went, Boston, huh? So,
But the best was your response. Like your chest puffed out,
hell yeah.
your gut sucked in, and you were like, well, yes. Yes, it is. Pray tell, how did you guess?
How'd you nail it? Good job there, killer. So you have a heartwarming story about 2A once again saving somebody's life.
Right, and it saved 2 Democrats.
What? Say that again.
It saved 2 Democrats.
What?
Am I supposed to say it again?
No, I'm asking you what. Keep going.
It saved 2 Democrats. So there were 2 Pennsylvania state representatives, Marty Flynn and Ryan Bizzarro. The reason I like the name Ryan Bizzarro is because he's a Dem, and this is a pro-gun story.
Right, so it's
that
like
saved
Bizzarro
their
Superman.
posterior. So and he's like Bizzarro Democrat, because I actually looked up the voting record on these 2 individuals on 2A. And what I found is there was a House Bill, 1243, that was passed in Pennsylvania, and both of these individuals voted yes on it. And what that did is that authorized legal action against local governments that have firearm laws.
Wow. And they voted for it.
Yes, they voted to allow people to essentially sue local municipalities or whatever that have LARS, that adversely affects them if they were to. Here, I'll just read the section. It says, relief. A person adversely affected by an ordinance, a resolution, regulation, rule, practice, or any other action promulgated or enforced by a county, municipality, or township prohibited under blah, 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 list some of the firearms sections, may seek declaratory or injunctive relief and actual damages in an appropriate court.
Wow.
And it authorizes attorney's fees. So I was impressed because at first look, I'm not going to lie. I have to be very honest here. Full disclosure. I was hoping when I pulled their voting records, when I was researching this, that they would have voted for like a bunch of anti-gun stuff.
Oh, totally.
That they would have, right? Like, because I was just about to slam them. I was getting all geared up, and I shouldn't have. I should have had an open mind to begin with, although we are an opinion show.
Yes, absolutely.
So I don't have to have an open mind.
You don't have to have an open mind per se.
So why am I apologizing?
I'm trying to figure that out.
I don't need to. Screw you guys.
Screw you guys. I'm going home.
So, but I saw that they both voted yeah on that. There was no other legislation, gun-related legislation that I was able to find through VoteSmart. Is the database or whatever that I was able to use to pull some of that history. So it was actually pretty good. But these individuals, Marty Flynn is he has a concealed weapons permit for a handgun. He was a former prison guard, so there you go, right there. And he's walking out with Ryan Bizarro again. That's great. And
Bizarro.
Yeah, they were walking out, and the individual approaches them in an attempt to rob them.
What's the rule about robbing people with guns, people?
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
It's bad. It's bad. So Mr. Flynn pulled his gun out, and the criminals were stunned.
No.
To say the least. And I guess traded shots with the suspects. Nobody was hit, which I'm a little... Listen, if you have a concealed weapons permit, you should probably know how to shoot under stress. That's just me. But nobody was hit. Everybody got scared and ran away. Now, the suspects, according to the Blaze, the suspects were Jamani Ellison, 17, Jair Leonard, 15, Derek Anderson, age 17, and Zaquan McGee, age 15. And they're facing charges of attempted homicide, conspiracy, robbery, reckless endangerment, and carrying a firearm without a license.
My first question is how would they even have a firearm when it's illegal? Because they're not of legal age?
No. You know what? They're obviously innocent in this crime.
You gotta get a sound clip for that.
Because, you know what? I will make a sound clip for that. They obviously were not in violation of anything because it is illegal for them to have a gun, so obviously they didn't.
Right. And that should be the end
of it. And that should be the end of it. So basically this story may read, with that amendment, that Representative Marty Flynn attempted to murder 4 youths.
4 underage youths. Did you say Ute?
Utes. Now, this brings up an interesting point. If one of these Utes had been hit, and Marty Flynn was a white Republican lawmaker...
Oh, my Lord.
Would this story be spun differently?
Oh, yes. Are you kidding me? White man murders black child.
I never said the suspects were black.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't. I read their names. If you can see the look on Sean's face right now.
Oh.
Can I apologize to my racist partner? I don't understand what I'm going to do with him. He is censured here because obviously Zaquan McGee,
Irish.
Jamani Ellison, Jair Leonard, and Derek Anderson. I don't know. The Sackheads radio show does not know what the race of the suspects were in this particular case.
Because they were juveniles.
Because they were juveniles.
And it wasn't released.
That I've been able to find anywhere.
Unless me and you had a contact in law enforcement out there.
And I'm not saying we don't.
Exactly.
I'm not going to burn anybody.
Exactly.
And we did do research for this show.
Yes.
I just had to point that out and make you turn red because that was awesome.
I know. So now I just look like a giant plum. Thanks. I didn't burn our source. Quick chat. Quick update in the chat room. Let's see. Ken says I'm a racist. Ag agrees. Ken lolls repeatedly over 3 screens a page. Ag guessed that they were Polish. Ken wants a picture. Ag wants to know if they were gentle giants. And as always, Ken nails it. This is somehow Sacco's fault. So,
well, Sacco held up a big sign. They must be black. So, and he is the producer. So Sean did have to take. No, he didn't.
He did not.
He did not.
Oh, man. So, to go back to your
No,
question.
please, continue.
To go
Pray
back to your
tell.
question,
Yeah.
based on our information, they were young black males. If they were Republicans and shot even at them.
If the suspects were Republicans?
No, well, yes. Even if the suspects were Republicans and shot the white guys,
Yeah,
it would still be
obviously,
spun.
absolutely.
Republican kills Democrat.
Right.
There would be no mention of anything else.
Right.
So, either way, it would be bad. Ken wants to know if anyone's name was Shakita. Well,
Now, that's a legitimate question, and I know it is.
you're going to do some research on that.
It was Zaquan.
Okay.
ZHAQUAN, which is very similar to Quran.
It is very
So I'm wondering if there's a terrorism tie
I wonder if
here.
there's ISIS relations. I'm just saying.
This is unconfirmed. We might have to check into this. Because Zaquan may be how you say the Quran. I don't know.
I don't know either.
We might have to... Sako, is there any way to research that?
Can you do some work on that, Soccer?
Okay.
I love... Dude, we do this on the show pretty often where we randomly ask Sako to research something, and we always go, hey, Sako, can you do it? He doesn't even say anything. He just keeps working on the board and just shakes his head no. There's not even like a second thought. Like, nope, not even looking into this. He doesn't look up. He doesn't even like try to pacify us. Be like, yeah, don't worry about it. Well, I'm going to be on that. It's literally just, nope. That, my friend, is good show support right there. That's how we get things done here. You know, it's really good, and you know, we talk about this all the time. That, and I don't know these guys are their voting record. I don't know anything like that. But it's
I just told you. What do you mean?
no. Outside of that one law.
Oh, right.
And I don't know if they're blue dog style Democrats, old kind of conservative Democrats, if you will. But I think it's really good when somebody from the other side of the aisle, who that side historically goes against gun rights for private
Usually,
citizens.
Yeah.
And I know lawmakers in just about every state are exempt from most gun laws, and they automatically get a CCW. A lot of them are Democrats, but you never hear about it. Nancy Pelosi and other, so it happens a lot of times. But it's good when you hear a Democrat lawmaker was successfully able to defend themselves with a firearm. I am sorry they were put into that situation. I don't wish that upon anyone. We've talked about that before.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's good because it shows, it gives more credence to our side of the argument. And the fact that gun laws are so insane in this country and our gun rights are infringed upon constantly. Again, Joe had a great show on guns this past weekend. It's on shrmedia.com. Check it out. Rooster had an awesome show. So glad he was back this week. But it's really good. And you know what? Like I said, these guys may not be total progressive lunatic Democrats either. So I don't want to slam them without knowing that for a fact.
No, and look, I'm just going to throw this out there. If the guy has a concealed weapons permit and he used it, and he had that at least that one gun vote we were able to find,
Right.
It doesn't sound like he
Yeah.
is. And look, we look at our own Governor Jerry Brown here in California.
And he's done
The guy's not horrible on gun legislation.
right. He's not great on it,
Well,
but he's not horrible on it.
he's not. He's actually not bad. He's better than Governor Schwarzenegger was.
Yeah.
I mean,
But Arnie wasn't exactly a conservative.
no,
so-
not at all. But I think Brown. I remember seeing something where Brown gets like a B rating from the NRA.
Yeah, which for a Democrat in this state, that's huge.
for anybody in this state,
and
that's
they could
huge.
do right now in this state, they could do pretty much whatever they want against guns. And the Republicans are pretty much, well, now it's changed because so many Democrats have been arrested that they don't have the same supermajority. But for a long time, they had
Name one Democrat that was running guns with like an international an international crime organization.
Leland G.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him.
And Shrimp Boy. Still love that name. That is the best criminal name on the face of the planet.
Shrimp Boy sounds like a bad James Bond villain.
So then we go from a good gun story to a bad gun story. And Iggy in our chat room linked this, and it's from patriotsbillboard.org. Gun shop was raided in, it looks like, upstate New York. And part of the items that were taken were the records of people who've bought, and 165 people who've bought AR-15 platform rifles, and you can find the...
Oh, really? Why would the DOJ need to burglarize a gun store? I mean, they should have all the records from ATF or something, right?
Weird.
I mean, like, why would Eric Holder feel the need to go do... I mean, this was done, federal government. This was done. I mean, remember Watergate? Like, they've tried to burglarize thing for records before. It didn't work out so well. What are you guys doing?
Well, and it's one of those...
So it wasn't the federal government that did it?
This looks like New York State Police.
New York State Police did it?
Yep.
They burglarized for the records?
It looks like it. No, they had a warrant.
Oh.
And they entered in. The original complaint came from a tip line that promises a $500 reward to anyone information to arrest for gun control law violations. That's always a good one.
Wait a second. Where's that money coming from?
That's amazing, isn't it? Where is that money coming from? Because I understand. Hey, listen, if somebody's in violation,
that better not be tax money.
No, it better not, because I would have to question the constitutionality of that, of state government paying money to people to dime out a violation of the federal government constitution.
Huh?
Huh?
I don't even know what you just said.
A lot of words, but it'd be interesting to see where that money rolls back to. But I'll tell you what, if there's more to this story that hasn't come out yet, okay, that's fine. But like everyone's saying in the chat room, we do have a constitution. The AR-15 platform has not been outlawed. Even in New York, they do the bullet button and the exemption and all that stuff, but it's still there. Mm-hmm. So why, we get into the argument because in order to sell guns, you have to have a federal firearms license. In order to do that, you have to petition the government, the ATF specifically, in order to do so. Part of that agreement, right, wrong, is that they can pretty much come in at any time and search your records, and they don't really need a search warrant. The New York State Police did this. It wasn't the ATF, and I don't know how that works with state enforcement versus federal. I know the federal, if you're a gun owner, the ATF can walk in at pretty much any time and demand to see your records, and you're bound by law, whether it's right or wrong.
Wrong.
It is wrong.
Wrong.
But you are currently, that's the current law. And it's not even law, it's just the rules of the ATF, and that's kind of, it's not really strictly law. Violating it is against the law, but it's not a law that's on the books. It's an ATF guideline for being a FFL, which they go down the argument that you're volunteering your information, etc., to be an FFL, whereas my argument would be the Constitution is kind of
I'm volunteering
the FFL.
my information, not the information on private persons that have purchased guns.
Right. So I do have a serious issue with that. But that is currently the way that system works, and that system should be changed, don't get me wrong. So I don't know why the state police would get a search warrant when they could go to the ATF and go get the information just the same. And I think that's something that needs to be called into question there as well. Are you going to close the door on us, Sacco? No.
So I was like, no, I
Nope,
like this.
I'm not. You guys are actually thinking right now. And I think that's a story that needs to be watched. And again, anytime the state government, anytime the Second Amendment's under attack, there needs to be really strict eyes.
You're bringing
watching.
me down. I had a good story where bad guys lost, good guys won.
I know.
And here you go. Be it. Oh, really? I start talking and you close the door.
Attica! We'll be back here on the Sackheads Radio Show, live here on the SHR Media Network.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on the Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific for me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Hello, I'm Paul, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is my professor, Dr. Larry Arnn, on the separation of church and state.
America's founders believed in the separation of church and state, in that the country was not to have an official religion or an official sect. But that did not mean that government was to be hostile to religion, or even indifferent to religion, as many today argue. In fact, America's founding document, the Declaration of Independence, includes both a reference to God as the author of the laws of nature and a confident assertion that human beings are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Far from being hostile or indifferent to religion, America's founders understood the theology of the Declaration to be an essential part of the education of citizens.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
Hi, this is Rooster from Outcry Radio. Catch me here on Blog Talk Radio every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or follow my blog. Now, back to the Sackheads.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Here's radio.
We're out there on break, and you can't even maintain while we're on break. Are you kidding me? Dude, it's a good thing nobody heard us on air with what you just said.
Are you going to do this to me?
Wait, are we back?
Yeah, we're back.
Oh. So here's what happens. Now, keeping in mind last segment, Sacco comes out while we're taking an air and we're chatting over our next segment, and he says, "Hey guys, I'm going to grab some Gatorade. What flavor do you like?" And Sean, without missing a beat, says grape. And Sacco says, "Really, grape?" And Sean says, "Well, yeah, my son turned me on to it." Now, for those of you that don't know, Sean's son is half black.
I can't believe how you're spinning this right now.
Okay, what did I say that was inaccurate? Of that whole conversation, what did I say that was not true?
You're insinuating something that wasn't.
When you say my son turned me on to it and then you laugh and you giggle.
I didn't laugh and giggle.
I
was dead honest about it. I didn't laugh and giggle until you said that's racist.
And Sacco's just now.
Sacco on the delay. Oh man!
I cannot believe you.
Oh, I cannot believe you.
That is
trying
hilarious.
to do that to me.
Poor little guy. Man,
nothing. I didn't say anything.
Oh yeah, no, not at all. Did you buy him a police car too?
Moving right
you
along.
Let him sit in front.
Move him right.
Hey, so. Jeez.
So you brought up a good story this week about how Greenpeace.
I did. No, hang on. I have to set the scene here. So first of all, everybody knows about Greenpeace, or most people I would imagine do. So I'm on Greenpeace website right now, not because I want to give them traffic, but I want to read their mission statement and their core value statement from their executive director, Annie Leonard. And the mission statement of Greenpeace says, Greenpeace is the leading independent, I have to read it in a nice, soft, melodic voice. Greenpeace is the leading independent campaign organization that uses peaceful protest and creative communication to expose global environmental problems and to promote solutions that are essential to a green and peaceful future.
Oh, that is just magical.
It's very nice, right? It's all rainbows, and it
But
just
none
sounds
of them
so
drink grape Gatorade.
so beautiful, so beautiful. I actually love grape Gatorade. So, and then here's the core value statement. Annie Leonard, our core values are reflected in our environmental campaign work. We bear witness to environmental destruction in a peaceful, nonviolent manner. We use nonviolent confrontation to raise the level and quality of public debate in exposing threats to the environment and finding solutions. We have no permanent allies or adversaries. We ensure our financial independence from political or commercial interest. We seek solutions to environmental dilemmas and promote open, informed debate about society's environmental choices. Now, she says that they use nonviolent confrontation. Is that an oxymoron?
Yes.
No, not is she an oxymoron.
Oh.
Is the statement an oxymoron? It could be, but maybe not. But second of all, they had a very violent confrontation this week.
Very, very violent.
Very violent. So two of their hippies, I apologize. Two of
hippies?
Hippies.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
I'm looking on their webpage, and there's like Lego figures on the front with like, and one of them is the main Lego dude is a hippie.
Yeah, well, why wouldn't he be?
He would be. That's what I said. You looked at me like I was being judgmental, and I'm not at all. So these two hippies are in a submarine.
Yeah, you're not at all judgmental.
Apparently, Greenpeace has submarines. Did you know about this?
No.
Why don't we have a submarine?
I don't know how that hasn't happened yet.
If Greenpeace has a submarine, we need a damn submarine or an aircraft carrier.
Yes. Yes. We need an aircraft carrier.
We do need an
and a
aircraft
submarine
carrier.
that launches from it.
Motion?
Passed.
Okay.
And not one that smells like patchouli like the two hippies have.
No,
Okay.
we don't want one that smells like patchouli and body odor.
Right.
So there they are, peacefully in the ocean, non-violently confronting sea life, I guess. I don't know. I don't even know. Like, why are you there? Why are you in a submarine in the middle of the ocean? You're freaking Greenpeace.
Well, first of all, I'm pretty sure they were shooting off their torpedo hugger. I think that's what it's called, the hugging torpedo.
Maybe they are a torpedo intercept force.
Ooh.
Maybe they are so committed to nonviolence
that they're willing to take a torpedo.
They are willing to take a torpedo if war ever breaks out.
You know what, Greenpeace? I challenge you.
To take a torpedo.
If you are so nonviolent and you don't believe in it, you put yourself between those two ships.
The torpedo hug challenge.
And the torpedo hug challenge. I love that.
You love that?
I do.
Okay. So Sackheads Radio has issued a torpedo hug challenge to Greenpeace. Now, while these hippies are in the ocean, in their submersible, I'm going to call it a submarine because it is, and I don't know whether it's armed or not. The submarine may in fact be armed, and they may have been provoking sea life in the area. We don't know.
Joe wants to know if it's a yellow submarine. And Ag says that the Islam Exposed crew will go in on the aircraft carrier with us, so that's good. We have
excellent.
What, 5 investors? 6 investors as of right now.
6 investors right now at $1.25 each.
Yeah,
we're on our way.
We're getting close.
We're getting close.
Hey, we're not far from the mothball fleet here in California. Just saying.
You ever smelled mothballs?
Yeah.
How'd you get their legs apart? Anyways, look, I'm just curious. So. These two hippies are diving in the ocean, and they're in, I believe they were in the Bering Sea, and these 2 jumbo squid attack the submarine. How awesome is that?
Dude!
What did they do to provoke these squid? Now, these squid can get up over 6 feet long. Weigh over 100 pounds.
It's a lot of calamari.
It's a lot of calamari. They have their suckers have like teeth on them that can like cut into stuff, but they glow like a brilliant red color.
Yep.
That
when they're
that
pissed.
they put off. Yeah, and research has shown that they believe that they can communicate through their color changes or whatnot. The story came across on CNET, and you can find it there.
Egg says Greenpeace is so lame they even piss off the squids.
That's my point. That's my point. You're so committed to nonviolent confrontation. I don't even know what the hell that means. That you piss off this. Look, even the freaking wild animals don't want your help.
It's not just us that hate you.
Yeah.
It's the wild animals.
Go away. Stop
being douchebags for a minute.
Right. You're invading. So why did you invade their space?
Right. If you're so concerned for their habitat, first of all, I think it's funny that they don't run solar-powered ships. They run diesel ships.
Well, why wouldn't they?
And so that goes against, like, step A of what they want to do. They should be on rowboats. Nothing but rowboats and sailboats.
Right.
The submersible, all the byproduct, that quote-unquote climate-changing byproducts to build that, the amount of plastic that goes into that, it's all made with petroleum.
Uh-huh.
And the electricity to run it comes from somewhere, and I don't think it's from solar power. So just them showing up and going into the water is doing more damage to the environment in their own belief than they're actually stopping.
Well, hang on. This gets better. So the squid, the jumbo squid is kind of its nickname. The actual squid name is Humboldt squids.
Oh, like the potheads.
Right. So you were attacked by your own kind, in essence.
Literally.
Humboldt is a county in Northern California where I think their primary cash crop is
marijuana.
In fact, marijuana.
They're the leading marijuana producer in the country.
Yes, I believe that's accurate. So you got pothead squids that can't even stand your patchouli Birkenstock asses in the ocean with them. They want you out. Go away. Some of the scientists believe that they're usually not aggressive. So they hate you that much.
Right. They hate those Greenpeace hippies so bad.
They don't attack the military subs.
No.
Right?
No.
They like them. Hey, thank you for coming. Hang out with us. We like you boys. Right?
Thank you for protecting us.
Thank you for protecting
from
us.
The damn commies.
Right. That just want to destroy our oceans, and at least you have some environmental laws. But Greenpeace, screw you in particular.
Yeah. Screw you and everyone in that little submarine. Wouldn't it be great as when they surfaced if there was like a polar bear there that just slapped them back down underwater, like, screw you, and hit them? And then like a Greenland shark just starts chewing on it. I would love to see that.
But that nobody gets hurt because we don't want anybody to get hurt.
Well, they put themselves in harm's way. I mean, when you deal with wild animals.
Right.
That's what happens. Joe wants to know if we get our own aircraft carrier, would I be the first-class seaman or the rear admiral? You know, Joe.
You would be the rear admiral with first-class seaman Sacco on board.
Right. You know how bad it is tonight? Even the rookie's giving me hell. Even the rookie's giving me hell tonight.
Wait, which rookie?
Jersey Joe. That was his comment in the chat room.
That was a great comment. And you didn't come back with anything?
What did I have to come back with?
Oh, I don't know. Go sit in an easy chair and cook chili. I
don't know. Man, it is just tough crowd. You know, it's a tough crowd tonight.
So my 5-year-old started doing the Rodney Dangerfield dance from Caddyshack.
No way.
It was on TV, and he saw Rodney Dangerfield do that dance. Do you know which one I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Hey, so play some music, right? And he like snaps his fingers and kicks his leg high. He thought it was absolutely hilarious, so that's his new thing. Completely off topic.
Best line of that movie. Hey, sweetheart, you want to make $10 the hard way?
Nice hat. You get a free bowl of soup with that hat? Oh, it looks good on you, though. I like that one.
There's no gambling at Bushwood, sir, and I never slice. Ted Knight, God bless his soul. He made that movie.
Oh, wow.
Houston City.
Houston. So this is our hammer and sickle.
This is the hammer and sickle segment.
I'm a little. So there's this broad mare, and she is.
You mean like wide?
No, but like a chick.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to use any derogatory terms.
Okay.
So this broad, her name is Anise Parker. I apologize. Innocent mispronunciation of her name. And they're
Anise?
No, Anise.
Oh.
I think it's plural for anus.
It could be. Are you sure it's not a nephew?
Nope, no, it's anise.
Okay.
Or anise.
It could be anise.
Because it's two N's. It's A-N-N-I-S-E. So it could be anise.
Anise?
Or anise.
Anisi.
Anisi?
Anisi.
Parker.
Parker.
Miss Parker.
Kel has a niece. Just a chat room talk.
So recently, the city of Houston passed an act called the HERO Act. And
that sounds magical.
No, it sounds awesome, right? Everybody loves heroes, don't they?
Right.
I mean, what could be wrong with heroes?
So I'm guessing this is
like the sandwiches,
celebrating first responders, superheroes. No.
Why would you celebrate that?
Oh,
this is Texas. So you like it's not completely unreasonable that you're thinking
right.
They may actually celebrate.
It may actually be the right thing,
but this is Houston.
Oh, right. Right. So this is the dark hole of Texas.
There you go again.
No, what?
Really? Can I apologize?
Just go on.
Can I apologize?
Just move on.
Yeah. So, wow. So they passed this HERO Act, and essentially what this HERO Act does is it protects folks with gender identity issues, confusions, whatnot, to be able to do things such as use whatever restroom they want. So if they identify, kind of like they did in California,
right?
If you're feeling female today, you can use that restroom. If you're feeling male today, you can use the men's restroom. That sort of thing. And so it's really it was a big bill among the gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender community.
Why do they call it the HERO Bill? I'm still confused by this.
It's the name of the bill.
Okay.
Google it. I don't know. I don't have time to get. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's stupid. So
just destroyed the word hero for me a little bit.
I didn't. Houston did. So this HERO Bill passes, and there was a large push to try and there was a big signature drive in order to get this legislation stopped. And the city attorney's office threw the petition out. It had more than enough signatures it needed. But they threw the petition out saying that they didn't believe it had the proper number of valid signatures.
How does that happen?
I don't know.
That's not even how. Wow, you want to talk about selective addition?
Yeah.
I mean, they either do or they don't. There's no I believe.
Yeah.
You look at the line and go,
so
okay.
This petition, they had over 50,000 signatures on this petition. They only needed 17,269 to put a referendum on this on the ballot. They got over twice as many. And the city threw the petition out in August saying, there's irregularities. They got over twice as much as they needed. 2.5 times, roughly, the amount of signatures they needed. And they threw it out. There's too many irregularities. So you're saying out of the 17,300, less than that, let's call it 17,300, they were over that by, 32,700.
Wow.
They were over that. Almost twice
Wow.
as much over. And there were that many irregularities is what they contended, so they threw it out. So, and then the city attorneys issued subpoenas for pastors demanding that they turn over any sermons that dealt with homosexuality, gender identity, or the mayor.
Mayor? Wait, what?
Yes. Or because she's the first, this broad is the first openly lesbian mayor in the city history.
Wahoo?
Yeah, who cares? Yeah, I don't know.
Why is it even an issue?
I don't know. But they're saying that if they fail to comply, they could be held in contempt of court for failing to comply with these subpoenas. So here you have the government who is coming into the church demanding that pastors turn over First Amendment protected materials to the government because they spoke out against the government on an issue that they objected to based on religious principles.
Wow.
And the city attorney is...
This might be one of the most amazing...
This is why it's in our hammer and sickle segment.
Violation of our First Amendment rights.
No. Are you were taken aback because I didn't tell you, I didn't fill you in.
You
on
didn't go all the way with
story.
that.
I just kind of said, "Oh yeah, Houston's trying to get some sermons," and you were like, "Oh, that sounds weird."
You know, I
want to get your reaction to this. This is so. I don't. Is this Russian or like German, circa 19?
I think it's more Russian.
I don't know because Hitler controlled what was in the pulpit too.
Yeah,
right?
he did. He did a lot of work in the pulpit.
Bonhoeffer was good. Yeah.
So, explain to me. And we talked about, one of the bigger violations that comes to memory is them passing the rule that you're not allowed to protest within X amount of yards of the president. I think that was a pretty harsh violation of the First Amendment. Then you look back at the Bundy Ranch thing, setting up a First Amendment area.
The Bunny Ranch thing?
No, the Bundy.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know what a Bunny Ranch is, but you can
Google it. Safe search off.
Explain it to me afterwards. And that was pretty...
Did you ever watch the HBO special?
No, I don't get HBO.
Oh. It's a whorehouse. You can Google it.
So, now you move on. Now you have a local government that is literally slamming the door on the church's right to preach. Because if they subpoena it and somehow now use that... I mean, it's bad enough they subpoenaed it. Don't get me wrong, folks.
Mm-hmm.
I understand how horrible that is. But if they somehow use this to first insult or humiliate the church, or in some sort of criminal proceeding, say hate crimes against the church, or hate speech, or if they have an ordinance against hate speech, because it's not a hate crime to say bad things about somebody you don't agree with. It has to be compiled with an assault or something to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
Just the hate speech itself is not a crime. But if they pass an ordinance that makes it a crime to have hate speech, now you really start getting into, and Ag in the chat room nailed it, you start getting into communist Russia. Everything's controlled, including religion. And again, I'm pretty libertarian about what people do in their own home behind closed doors. None of my business.
Just I don't care.
Right.
As long as it's consulting adults, don't care.
I don't care. But when it is done in public, in the public eye, and it's just, and I don't care who it is, male and female, male, whatever. When people are all over each other, I'm disgusted for it, just because of the act, not who's committing it. But now, when you start going after what is a articulated, protected right in our Constitution, and the First Amendment, it's number one.
If it were that important, it wouldn't need to be an amendment. It would have just been in there in the first place. I mean, come on, Sean. I think you're being a little dramatic over this. Don't you?
I am mortified at the legal precedents. And here's the other thing you have to worry about, too, folks. You get some other lunatic cities, or maybe a lunatic state.
Like San Francisco or California.
Right, that starts pushing this. And listen, we've already talked about in the past, and everyone in the SHR network has at one time or another, the attack that's going on in churches and Christianity specifically. And it happens on a regular basis, either social media or celebrities or atheists.
Wait a second, I just thought of something.
Yeah.
Is in the Muslim faith, is homosexuality okay?
No.
Is it accepted?
No.
How many subpoenas were issued to mosques?
At all. It's a good question. And why not?
I mean, are there any mosques in Houston? I don't know.
I don't know.
But if there are, were subpoenas issued?
I know Ron is in the chat room. He lives down in Houston. I'm sure he could tell us if there's a mosque somewhere in Houston. There's got to be.
Anise Parker tweeted out, Anus, if the 5 pastors used pulpits for politics, their sermons are fair game. Were instructions given on filling out anti-hero petition? That's what she says, her stance. Fortunately, the Texas Attorney General, Greg Abbott, is involved now.
Good.
He is demanding that Houston withdraw those subpoenas.
Mm-hmm.
So far, only 5 pastors in the Houston area have been issued these subpoenas. But still, I don't care if it's one.
Doesn't matter if it's one.
Right, doesn't matter if it's one. I don't look.
If they're using the pulpit to incite riots, go out,
it doesn't matter.
Create treason, do a crime against the country, a specific crime though. If you're using the pulpit to incite
go murder
riot,
a bunch of people,
right? That's very different. Because if you were that, because now you start looking at like the cult leader situation or something like that, where if they're doing it to get people to commit murder, to commit these horrendous crimes, that now becomes evidence of a criminal case, and it's a little bit different.
Right.
But when it is just a church talking about its displeasure about something that hasn't even been passed yet, it's not even a law yet.
Yeah, it is.
Well, was it at when they were talking about it?
Uh-huh. Yeah, because they were trying to get this petition, the one that was thrown out,
right,
over irregularities.
Okay. So they're trying to legally overturn a law.
Right.
They're trying to use the system the way it's created.
Right.
They're trying to get signatures to put it on the ballot to vote to get it thrown out. That's a legal process, and that's no different than if you have my house and I have a bunch of friends over, and I'm like, hey, before we have dinner, I want to talk to you a little bit about this law, and just roll it around your head and tell me what you think, but I'd really like it if you sign
But even
this.
more protected than that, because it's not only speech, but it's the religion also.
Yes. Well, that's my point. Is, okay, well, it's my house and I have the privacy to do so, but when you, and my house is protected under the Constitution, but when you're in a church, no matter what church, and again, you nailed it, absolutely nailed it. Do this in a mosque and watch CARE go insane. And I almost said watch CARE explode, but everyone would have taken that the wrong way.
Yeah, and you're batting 1,000 tonight with that.
But you watch all the libs and the lunatics come out, and they're like, hey, you can't do this, and you can't go after a mosque. How dare you go after a mosque? Those people are protected, blah, blah,
Christians.
But Christians, screw them. Well, and I watch, social media. It's so funny how Christians are just expected to take the abuse. I look at
turn the other cheek.
Yeah. I look at atheists that attack Christians on all social media, and I have a couple friends of mine who are atheists that I've ceased communicating with because of their... And I'm not a very, very overly religious person.
No, you're not.
But
But you do have your beliefs.
I do have my beliefs, and more so, I believe in other people's rights to have their beliefs.
Uh-huh.
And that it should not be attacked for no reason. And I watch the attack happen on a regular basis, and I've said words and I've gotten into arguments, so I've just shut them out for the most part. I don't care if somebody's an atheist. I look at Penn Jillette, and he's an atheist, but he's very respectful in his wishes.
Yes.
Understands, hey, you know what? I don't think it's bad for you to have religion. I just choose not to.
I choose not to.
Okay, great.
Right.
I can have that argument all day.
Yep.
But Christianity, as of late, has just been taking the boot to the neck repeatedly and expected to just tolerate it and deal with it. And now you have local governments that are using essentially their power illegally, in my opinion, to now attack churches. And it'd be interesting, like you said, if there was any, because, some sects of the Jewish religion are very, very strict on homosexuality as well. It'll be interesting to see if they went after any Jewish.
Probably, I could see them going after.
Yeah, no, I just want to see what the ratio is. But I guarantee you, not one mosque was sent a subpoena. Not one. And that, to me, is the biggest atrocity of this whatsoever.
Look, we're gonna keep watching on this, because this is something that is absolutely worth
it's horrible.
fighting for.
Horrible.
I'm shocked. Oh, and there we go. Sacco, man, right on cue.
He nails it.
Look at that. Thank you very much, my friend. When we come back, we're gonna get into Ebola
here on the Sackheads Radio Show on the SHR Media Network.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
How you doing? John Grant here. when I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on the Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific for me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Hello, I'm Paul, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is my professor, Dr. Larry Arnn, on the separation of church and state.
America's founders believed in the separation of church and state, in that the country was not to have an official religion or an official sect. But that did not mean that government was to be hostile to religion, or even indifferent to religion, as many today argue. In fact, America's founding document, the Declaration of Independence, includes both a reference to God as the author of the laws of nature and a confident assertion that human beings are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Far from being hostile or indifferent to religion, America's founders understood the theology of the Declaration to be an essential part of the education of citizens.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
Hi, this is Rooster from Outcry Radio. Catch me here on Blog Talk Radio every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or follow my blog. Now, back to the Sackheads.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Here's radio.
And we're back here on the Sackheads Radio Show. Here
want a beer?
live on the SHR Media Network.
Would you like a beer?
No, I'm good.
I'm going to grab one.
Grab a beer.
Okay.
So I wanted to update a little bit about Ebola and what's going on because, well, frankly, it's...
You want to update about what?
Ebola. Sorry. I missed my cue. I thought you were coming over to kiss me.
I'm popping a beer and your microphone is closer.
That wasn't the most uncomfortable 5 seconds of radio. We had one of the nurses that was treating Timothy Duncan come down with Ebola.
Was that the founder of the donut shop?
No. No. Don't even joke like that, for goodness sakes.
I was asking
no,
out of
just
concern
don't joke.
for you.
Just don't joke
I was
about
acting
that
out of
ever.
concern for you.
And now we have a second nurse. We have a second nurse who came. I'm not laughing about the Ebola. Who came down with Ebola, and she, after she treated Mrs. Duncan, decided to go on the worldwide tour, which I kind of thought was strange, considering her.
But she did call the CDC first.
She did, and
get permission to go.
But which drives me nuts because
if you have to call, you know something's probably amiss.
And when your coworker that you were working next to was wearing the same protective gear that you were, and came down with Ebola, you might want to stay home for a little bit. I'm just saying cancel the flight. You know what I mean? Right. It may not be the best idea. And I'm not blaming her for getting Ebola. I'm just
blaming her for getting on the flight?
Yeah,
maybe?
I just don't think that was the best idea.
You're not blaming
I blame
the CDC?
I am also blaming the CDC. Well, listen. I'm blaming her, yes, to a point, because she shouldn't have got on the flight. Common sense predicts that.
She didn't have the 100.5 or whatever that CDC says.
But your coworker just came down with it, and she was wearing the same thing you were.
And she was also slightly elevated, and her temperature was 99-something.
Right. So all the more reason why you should. You're a freaking nurse. You should know better. And I'm
you
sorry,
are giving nurses too much credit.
And I'm sorry that you have Ebola, but that doesn't change the fact that you knew your coworker came down with it, and potentially the hazmat.
What?
What?
Potentially?
Yeah.
Okay.
Potentially, I can't say it now. You just screwed me on that. The hazmat suit that you were wearing wasn't as effective, or the procedure wasn't as effective as they'd hope it would be.
It's like a condom. It's not 100%.
Not 100%.
Right?
Something could get through.
Something could get through.
And, there's all these talks now on why anybody was kept at that hospital, because it wasn't one of the biocontaminated hospitals like they have in Nebraska and Atlanta, which, by the way, the second nurse in Atlanta, the first nurse, Miss Pham, is actually recovering, which is good to hear. But it really shows you how out of touch, in my opinion, not only the CDC, but the medical field in general is with dealing with this and enterovirus. I asked the 2 poll questions on shrmedia.com. Go down the bottom, click on page 2, take the poll. But, at some point, we have to realize, and when the president and the CDC goes out and they're kind of like, hey, it's probably not a big deal, and this stuff's not going to be a huge outbreak, and not worry about it. But look at how they react when somebody even says, I have a fever now. They were talking in the chat room, a plane landed in Boston, an Emirates airline plane, and they quarantined like 10 people off it because they weren't feeling well on the plane, and some of them had fevers, etc. It turned out they didn't have Ebola, but when you're quarantined, you're essentially in jail for a few days. When you're ordered to quarantine, and I understand the reasoning for it, don't get me wrong, but your liberty is taken away. Mm-hmm. And when they're pulling you off a plane and taking your liberty away because you may have a disease that's so infectious,
no, it's not that infectious.
It could be an epidemic. And then on one hand, though, the CDC's turning around and saying, it's not that big of a deal. And it's not even airborne. And then all of a sudden there was a doctor that came out this week that's been studying it for years saying, wait a minute.
It actually may become airborne.
It could be airborne. We're just saying.
Right.
We're starting to do a little research on this. We could be way off. Let's back up a little bit. And then she flew to Cleveland, and she had family in Cleveland, and everyone on the plane. And then if anyone on that plane comes down with it, now you have to. This is just like any the movie where it starts.
Is there a crime, federal interstate transportation of Ebola?
There will be with this president.
No, there won't. He wants you to travel. He won't do it internationally. Why is he going to do it interstate?
Well, and that's what's funny is now all of a sudden Chicago's starting to, a month later, Chicago's starting to monitor people with the laser dot thermometer. So that's always nice. There was some talk here and there about them actually starting to close travel, but it's too little too late. That's the problem. It's too little too late. Listen, the enterovirus, odds are, and I'm not a doctor and I'm not a statistics person per se, but I have a feeling the enterovirus may have come over the southern border. We know where Ebola came from in this country. We know it was Mr. Duncan that brought it over here.
Yes.
From Liberia, sick. Yes. He knew he was sick.
He knew he was sick.
Which is why he went right to the ER.
Yeah.
There is a lot more going on. And, folks, I have to tell you this.
How do you call him Mr. Duncan? I don't have that much respect for him. He knew he was sick. He brought it into another country, and now our population. Listen,
is at risk.
If this explodes, and something happens to, God forbid, a child, or anybody really is horrible. But I have a particular soft spot for
children.
For horrible things happening to children. And this coward, this piece of garbage, in my opinion, is dead, so he can't be held accountable.
Yeah. And there's some people who said he did it on purpose, and
how did he not? He had to have known.
No, exactly.
We know he lied to the screeners coming into this country.
He said he didn't feel ill, nothing was wrong.
Of course he did it on purpose.
He came here on purpose, without a doubt. Whether he was coming here... And there are people questioning his motive. Was he coming here to get treatment, which I believe he was. There's some people say who's coming here to bring the disease over here. I've even heard things that he felt that he should bring it over here to bring awareness, and maybe that if we were that involved, now we're starting to go over. We have 3,000, 4,000 troops that are going over to fight Ebola with their illness guns, which is just insane to me. I don't know why we're sending our U.S. military over there to do that. I can understand if there was a security issue where they're being treated.
They do have some.
They have no. I'm not saying
Right.
they don't have medical ability, but that money could have been probably to pushed elsewhere where it may have been a little bit more effective. Now, if the city that they were treating people falls under attack and they wanted security purposes, I am okay lending our troops for that because we need to find a way to rid these two viruses. Enterovirus, which is very, very, and Joe had a great show on this a couple weeks ago, it's very, very underreported, but it's very, very deadly as well, and it's starting to kill more and more people here. We're in a bad way. And I've talked to a few people in the medical field recently this week about this. Nurses, a doctor, a couple other people who've all pretty much admitted we are not prepared to handle this. They don't have solid treatment. They don't have any sort of contamination thing set up, plan in place. They're told what to do after somebody may come in with an illness. And there was a doctor being interviewed today, and it's Breast Reconstruction Awareness Day. It's called BRAR. It's for cancer survivors. It's a great cause. Don't get me wrong. I am not undercutting it because I know people who have been affected by breast cancer, and it's a horrendous, horrendous thing. But the interviewer took a moment to ask this doctor about Ebola in her particular hospital, and she couldn't get out of that seat quick enough because there was no answers. Oh, well, yeah, we have protocols. We have to make certain notifications. What, do you shut down the hospital? Do you quarantine? How do you quarantine? The air duct systems are all together. So how do you quarantine that in the hospital? Do you bring them out to a separate facility? And she was just like, just almost like stroked out in the chair. It was horrible. I felt bad for her. But more and more, we know that we're not prepared to handle this. And instead of, it's so funny. Like I heard somebody today say, "Oh, that Mark Zuckerberg, he's doing all he can. That $25 million he donated to the CDC fund for." But first of all, that's a drop in the bucket for him. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't have donated. It's his money. He can do whatever he wants with it. That's a drop in the bucket for the CDC's overall budget. They're in the billions. That guy is just trying to get attention and draw attention to himself. That's nothing. That $25 million, listen, if we come up $26 million short on the cure and he didn't donate it, then I'd be like, oh, damn it, Mark Zuckerberg, you could have donated that money and saved us all. Things like that is a smoke show. A lot of people are starting to say that, Ebola is a smoke show to take away from ISIS, and I believe that our government is using it as a smoke show for ISIS, but I don't think it is naturally a smoke show. I don't think it was a created smoke show. I think it's something, and even if it was, it's too late at this point. Mm-hmm. We need to be concerned about it. We need to have better procedures in places. Hospitals need to be treated, need to be prepared, and they're not. The training is horrible. I have a friend of mine who's a trauma nurse on a ICU floor, and she's part of the designated team that if Ebola is brought into the hospital, that she's part of the team that will treat that patient, and kind of the first one to really admit that there's not a lot to do. We'll put up a wall, we'll kind of put an air scrubber system in, but we just kind of treat them. They put on the big hazmat suits, which, by the way, we see with the two nurses in Dallas, may not be as effective as we thought they were.
Yep.
Because they're not a full contained breathing unit. It's a filtered breathing unit, which maybe it needs to be a contained breathing system now if you're going to go in there. And did you see the head of the CDC pretty much try to blame her for getting Ebola?
At first, yeah, he blamed the protocols.
Well, the protocol, she must not have followed a protocol or something like that.
And they've since walked that back.
Oh, yeah, ran that back quick.
Right. And then it was, the hospitals don't really have protocols. Yet,
well, why not?
Yet Obama was talking about, do you remember just a couple of weeks ago, right? Mm-hmm. Didn't he say something like, it very, very minimal chance it'll even happen here in the U.S.
Like ISIS.
And now it's here. And
it's like ISIS.
Well, it's very probably not going to be a widespread problem. What's a widespread problem?
Right.
Like,
I hate
how
to tell
many?
you, Mr. President, this doesn't just hit conservatives.
Honestly, how many?
It's not a conservative pro
Well,
virus.
I want to know what the acceptable number of infected Americans is. That's what I want to know. What is? It won't be a widespread problem. What is a widespread problem? Is it 3%?
Mm-hmm.
Is it 1%? Is it what's the definition? What's an acceptable amount of American losses or sicknesses?
To me, it's 0. Anything over 0 is unacceptable. And I understand that this
It's too late now.
Right.
We're already over that number.
And you know what? If this started here, kind of not like enterovirus, but in the sense that this is where it's being affected most, and it just popped up out of nowhere. Okay, I can definitely see, oh, wow, we're a little bit behind the 8 ball. We've been worried about Ebola in this country.
Since the 70s.
Since the 70s. That's why we've been studying it since the 70s.
Yes.
That's why they're trying to find a reason. And listen, some of the quote-unquote known cures out there, we talked about it last week, is that tobacco product that they have to grow from a seedling. They can't. It has to be a natural seed. You can't do a clone seed because it lacks certain proteins, et cetera, et cetera.
You have to be a smoker.
Essentially, yeah. There's a reason I'll never get Ebola. I guarantee you, hand to God, I drink and I smoke, and I bet you I'll never get Ebola because for whatever reason. And you brought this up after the show last week.
I did.
He's like, I never really see you sick. And I said, no, I don't really get sick all that often. Very rarely do I get sick.
Very rarely do you get
sick.
sick.
The last time I had a fever was over 6 years ago. I get occasionally, I'll get allergies that bother me and stuff like that. And, you hear the little, especially living where we live in this valley, our allergies are horrible. Mm-hmm. Me being not from here, I constantly have a little bit of a stuffy nose. Just constantly. I'm just used to it at this point. As soon as I go anywhere else,
it's clear.
It immediately clears up. I could go to Lake Tahoe tomorrow and be fine.
Yeah.
I go to the Bay Area and I'm fine. Here, the allergies are just horrible. But I don't get sick on a regular basis. Now, watch. I'll probably come down with Ebola tomorrow. But
I hope not.
I hope
Even
not,
though that
too.
would be great radio.
It would be, because
I
I'd
hope
still
not.
come in here and do the show. I mean...
No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't.
Ag nails it. He said, go to the nearest liquor store and stock up on vodka. And dip. If you're not a smoker, dip is okay as well.
Yeah.
But, it's one of those things
And not
that...
pop-off vodka. Like, not the cheap
No, not
plastic
pop-off.
bottle stuff.
Wine's okay. Anything...
Whiskey.
Whiskey's a good one. Was it you who were telling me about a relative?
Yes.
And tell that story, because I think that's kind of an awesome story.
So, I have a relative, and it's my brother, who swears, like, if he eats something and it doesn't taste right, he will drink a shot of whiskey. And he never gets food poisoning. Like, he's never been sick. Like, he'll get something, "Ooh, that didn't taste right, maybe it's not starting to," and he'll down a shot. He doesn't get sick. Maybe 2 or 3. But he doesn't get food poisoning. And there will be other people in the household who eat something who doesn't taste right, and they may feel sick or whatever, but he
just gets through it.
Right.
There's something to be said about pickling yourself.
Right.
We joke, and there's a guy who...
Look, we have a bottle here in the
just
office.
in case.
Yeah.
Bottle of bullet, just in case.
Yes, we do.
Even our alcohol has guns involved.
Pretty much nailed it.
Bullet bourbon. But, it's scary to me how far we are behind on something that we know a decent amount of, and the risk. And listen, why we haven't closed our borders from at least East Africa.
Well, look, and I want to bring up another point here. We know that the southern border is a potential spot for Ebola. If these patients start coming into Central America and Mexico, our southern border, they will come through.
Yes.
Okay? We know that. There's already been reports that ISIS will or has come through the southern border.
Yes.
Those are 2 things we don't want in our country. At what point, Mr. President, are you going to close or seriously control the southern border? Hey, if you want to allow dreamers in, okay, but this is Ebola and ISIS. Why don't we start closing those borders? Why don't we stop flights coming in from Ebola countries? Those are easy steps that we can take to protect our people. And Mr. President, I know you consider yourself a citizen of the world first over an American. I know you don't think America is exceptional. Mm-hmm. I know you don't think we should be Americans and Mexicans and Canadians and all this other stuff, and we're all citizens of the world.
Canadians, eh?
You do have a responsibility as President of the United States to protect Americans.
It's kind of your number one job.
It's kind of an important job.
It's kind of right up there.
Right. You have a pen and a phone, remember? You've said this a few times. You have the authority to order troops, order National Guard units, order more Border Patrol to patrol and really control that southern
$250K
border.
for a car. It's kind of a big one. You might want to hold on to it.
Okay. Look, how is this not happening? You cannot have it cease. You cannot. Your screening is inadequate. You got a TSA guy with a mask and a balloon, or I don't know how the hell they do it, right? Taking
one of those money counter condoms for his finger.
Taking like a temperature. I don't know. And rectally, I have no idea how you're doing it. But you've got a TSA guy who's like, well, this sucks. I really don't want to get near all these people that are coming from freaking Ebola country, Ebola land. Yeah,
and
but
this
here
is
I am.
where, you know, we can have our problems with the TSA, but this isn't even their problem.
And are they cleaning those thermometers before every use? Are they sterilizing those? Because, okay, hey, I swiped your nasty, sweaty forehead with this forehead scanner, and it's through secretions that you get it, so there's your perspiration. Oh, let me put it on this person next.
Keep going. Next. Next.
Right?
Well, I don't know. And there's
I already said I don't know. Sacco said he thinks it's a gun. You aim it at him.
It can't possibly be a gun because the president would not allow a TSA
No,
agent
a
to have
thermometer
guns.
gun, like a laser.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, like a laser.
My B, Sacco. I just immediately went to what I know. Quick from the chat room, Egg, if he was president, would be issuing an immediate executive order mandating airdrops of Jack Daniels, Doritos, and Marlboro cigarettes to the worst affected area. And Ken said he had a flash dream of Biden swearing in the next 21 days.
Ooh.
Because the president doesn't necessarily have to expire. He just has to be unable to lead.
Well, this president is unable to lead, in my opinion.
Well,
so
the conversation,
let's get him sworn in.
Now that the Secret Service is listening, but I want to give a little backstory on that. They were discussing on how different the response would be to the Ebola if it hit in the White House, if the president got it, or what if the Liberian president brought it over on a visit on day one? Like, we didn't know Ebola was outbreaking. Like, all these, just look at different scenarios and then see how the government would react. If it started to affect Congress, the president, I think there would be a much different reaction. I think you would have quarantine zones. I think that the borders would be shut down almost immediately. I really do. But because he lives in a house that's practically impenetrable.
No, he lives in the White House.
Right. Practically impenetrable by anyone who can't
except for somebody that wants to jump the fence and run in with a knife. And then there's that.
But I really think that if that happened, you would see a different response. And this is kind of leading from the ivory tower. And I really think we see this a lot with this president. And we talk about terrorist block in the last half hour this week. We can talk about it more. But we see this president very much behind the eight ball now on a lot of things. A lot of things. And his ineptitude has just finally peaked to the point that you can't hide from it, and there's not a lot of BS things that he's pushing? Is he just so checked out?
I don't think he's checked out. I think he was completely unprepared.
Right.
He honestly, this is what happens when you elect somebody that does not understand
anything.
History.
Right.
I'll say history.
Well, yeah. Or right? Common sense.
Or common sense, or strictly pushes a specific, a social, progressive, Marxist agenda. That's what it comes down to. He's inflexible in his.
Well, he was elected for
agenda.
social reasons, and he wasn't elected to lead.
Right.
He was elected.
He was elected to lead on social issues, and we've
Right.
talked about this before. But his international leadership is zero.
Exactly. It's absolute zero.
And he doesn't have that testicular fortitude to stand up to Putin or to stand up to the international community.
Right.
Or because I guarantee if he closed our borders and stopped flights coming in for those countries, I guarantee the international community would say something and he'd piss himself. Like literally, he would probably be standing up there, and my guess is urine would seep out from his midsection, down his pant leg, and he would be standing in a puddle of it.
But damn it, if there's a local issue in which a police officer shoots an unarmed man
who tried to kill him,
you can bet that this president is front and center.
Absolutely.
If there is a half Hispanic male that kills a black teen in Florida, you better believe that this president's going to be out in front. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This president's going to be out in front.
Yeah.
If there's pretty much a trollop who wants somebody to pay for contraception, this president's standing right by her side, breathing in the same air and probably catching something. And when it comes to actually protecting this nation and protecting our people, he's leading from behind. And by leading from behind, I mean he's standing way behind the curve,
pushing everybody towards the cliff.
Yeah, just put literally like in a snowplow, just like go ahead, lemmings, no problem, and just pulling that loud air horn and pushing forward. This is a systematic mental failure, or there's some people who thinks it's not a failure at all, that there's some shenanigans.
I don't think I don't think the lack of response on Ebola is shenanigans. I don't.
Right.
Do I believe that not controlling the southern border for immigration purposes is shenanigans? Of course I do. Do I believe that failing to control the borders or failing to control Ebola or taking effective leadership on the Ebola issue, I don't think that's shenanigans. I don't. I think that's ineptitude. I really do.
At this point, it doesn't matter what causes it. It really doesn't matter at this point. At this point,
it matters what do we do now.
It matters what do we do now, and what do we do as a nation, and what do states do,
and why is the Congress not doing anything?
And why isn't Congress?
Look, I'll call out the Republican House.
Yeah.
Why have you not introduced any legislation to shut these flights down? Or introduced any legislation to control the border. Look, I don't care if you put in the legislation control the borders for purposes of containing or preventing Ebola from entering, so you can get your little political victory and say, oh, no, it's not because we don't want you in our country, it's because we don't want the virus here.
If you're McConnell or if you're Boehner, you call Congress back. Boner. You call Congress back and you pass a bill to close the borders for an emergency right now. And then force...
And the flights.
Yes.
And force the president not to sign it.
The Senate to either punt or carry it.
Right.
And getting into election season, folks...
And how does the Senate not carry that?
They're going to carry it.
There's close to 70% of the American public, including Democrats, and I forget the specific figures, but it's well over 50 and 60%, supports closing the borders, stopping flights.
Yes.
To prevent Ebola. So... I want to see the Senate not bring that forward. How do you not? And then if the president fails to sign it, Congress can override that veto.
Right.
Why have they done nothing? Look, I'll call them out, Republicans and Democrats. I'll call them out right now.
They're afraid. They don't want to be the people that shut off the poor borders to the helpless people who need everything, that nobody wants to do it. They don't have the stones. I know I could make a list in my head of senators and...
Rand Paul.
I think he'd vote for it.
I do too.
I think he absolutely would vote for it.
I do too.
Trey Gowdy. We can go down the people that would vote for it.
There'd be very few. We could probably count them on two hands.
Yeah. But I think there'd be a lot of people who wouldn't. We should, and Ken is right, you are right. We should make them vote. And you know what? Call your representative. Call your senator. Tell them to get out.
I have.
Not just you. I was talking to our listeners.
Oh,
this is one of those times where
I thought you and I were having a conversation here.
This is the listeners.
I forgot we're on the air right now.
Sacco, can you put the light on again when it's my turn?
I forget that.
Fine. But call your senators. Call your representatives. Tell them it's time to put this to a vote.
Sacco,
Thank you.
Right on time as always.
Nailed it. I don't care what he says. That kid is amazing.
That segment brought to you by Patriot Ordnance Factory, POFUSA.com.
Also this week, check out, and we will have our first Windrock Wealth financial update this week. That'll be on our Spreaker feed, so make sure that you follow us on Spreaker to get that. Coming up this...
Did you say Streaker feed?
Spreaker.
Are we actually going to do that? Because I know you were going to shoot that video of us going through the center part up by the Capitol.
No, Sacco refused to do it. Sacco refused to do it. Follow us on Spreaker, please. And also this Saturday, you're gonna Outcry Radio will be on, and Sunday you will have the Reaver of Common Sense with Jersey Joe. We'll be back here on 3 on the Sackheads Radio Show at shrmedia.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on the Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific for me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Hello, I'm Paul, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is my professor, Dr. Larry Arnn, on the separation of church and state.
America's founders believed in the separation of church and state, in that the country was not to have an official religion or an official sect. But that did not mean that government was to be hostile to religion, or even indifferent to religion, as many today argue. In fact, America's founding document, the Declaration of Independence, includes both a reference to God as the author of the laws of nature and a confident assertion that human beings are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Far from being hostile or indifferent to religion, America's founders understood the theology of the Declaration to be an essential part of the education of citizens.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
Hi, this is Rooster from Outcry Radio. Catch me here on Blog Talk Radio every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or follow my blog. Now, back to the Sackheads.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Here's radio.
And welcome back here to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. So lots happened with ISIS this week here in our terrorist block segment. And, you know, we talked so much about Ebola being the...
Clint has Ebola. He does.
I think he has Ebola.
Earlier, when you weren't looking, when you went to the bathroom, he pulled his pants down and says, "Hey, I want you to take a look at this."
Hey, Sacco, take a look at this.
I'm pretty sure it's Ebola.
Where are you going? Where are you going?
So, seriously, though.
Don't touch that.
You know, we talked about Ebola.
Hang on a second. What I was doing is I was
leadership.
actually doing research with a couple of contacts I have over at Kaiser. I was trying to contact them after hours to see if they're working on some protocols.
And are they?
They are working on protocols, actually. So hospitals are starting to get in touch with it. See, I was actually doing research, so for your segment, but go ahead. It's fine.
So I was talking about ISIS, and we were talking about the lack of leadership, and once again, the president being behind the 8 ball. ISIS is only, 2 miles maybe outside of Baghdad at this point. This past week, I think they've taken an airfield, another army base from Iraq. and more real estate, if you will, in Iraq, and they've moved around. They've also pushed the Turkey border again. They've done a lot. Now the numbers are starting to come out, and all the experts are pretty much saying, hey, we don't know how many people ISIS has. We're kind of guesstimating, if you will, but we don't know. And the other thing we don't know is, are they picking up more people as they go? As they take over some of these towns, are you getting the Sunni and the Shias, and they're starting to separate, and people are saying, hey, you know what, I'm on board with you guys. You do get, you look at what happened with the Nazis in World War II. A lot of people just went with whoever was strongest because they wanted to be part of the winning team, if you will, and you get into that. So, and the other thing is, when they take more military bases and they take more air bases, they're getting more and more of our equipment. It'll be interesting to see, and that's something that they haven't released a lot of. What equipment was being taken from those bases? You know, man pads, anti-aircraft. There's also been hints of chemical weapons use.
Uh-huh.
And I know you're going to talk to us about that here in a minute. So,
yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh, didn't I sign that to you pre-show?
Yeah, I forgot. Let me hang on. Let me check the board. ISIS. It's just Baghdad and chemical weapons. No, but that's in green. That's your color.
Oh, man. Damn it. So, it really, and our reaction has still just been, oh, we're going to bomb, we're going to bomb, we're going to bomb. If you talk to military experts, anyone who, even not military experts, people who have done any sort of planning militarily, they will tell you that bombing is great for the initial attack. You want to eliminate command and control. You want to maybe take out some roads, some bridges, some transportation, et cetera, et cetera. But you can only do that so much. And if they start embedding into houses in these communities, we can't start bombing the houses, because then the liberals go nuts, because we talked about collateral damage a couple weeks ago. And Iraq is now calling outright for us to put troops on the ground. They're asking us to actually put ground troops down. Again, 3,000 people went over to Liberia to help Ebola.
It's a political promise, though. He won't. So he's going to put politics above the safety of the American people. Really, I mean, ISIS is going to affect us here at the homeland. They're spreading throughout the region. It does affect us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, it really, and it's going to be interesting to see. There's a lot of other players in that region now that I'm starting to watch closely.
Turkey.
Turkey's a big one. It's going to be interesting to see if Turkey actually commits 100%. But I'm also watching countries like Iran. And if Iran starts now, and seriously, the other thing I do worry about is, if they're getting Iraqi military members that are starting to join ISIS, are they getting people that can fly planes? Are they getting people that can launch chemical weapons, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
And there is concern that what the State Department just didn't. Wasn't there something that came out that well, we may have misreported the number of Saddam Hussein's chemical weapons. Oh, there were no weapons of mass destruction.
Right.
Well, there may be some stuff that some folks might have been exposed to.
But we know that. We know that. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows the chemical weapons were there. It's politically expedient to deny that they were.
And some new photographs came out this week showing that, hey, ISIS may have actually used chemical weapons on some Kurds.
Yes. And
that was supposedly from the Kobani region from July.
Right, which is weird. Did they get them from Assad, who they were supposed to be fighting, and they took over some of his bases? Were the Iraqi... We had that report, what was it, about a month ago now, that they took a chemical weapon facility in Iraq.
Uh-huh.
And we don't know when they necessarily took it. We just know that it finally got reported a month and a half ago. So that's something to be concerned about.
Right, and pictures of some of the bodies from the dead in that region show burns and white blistering and so forth.
The same smoking gun we saw in Syria over a year ago.
Right, which is consistent with the chemical weapons use. So, yeah, it's a major issue. At what point does Obama put troops on the ground, or do you think he's not?
He's not.
Period. It
He's
doesn't
not.
matter.
Does not matter.
Baghdad will fall.
It does not matter.
You think Baghdad's going to fall?
Oh, yeah. I think Baghdad's gone in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
I really do. I think Baghdad's gone in the next 2 weeks, and they will then have their Islamic State. I think you're going to see them be allowed to wipe out. The only thing that he may do is evacuate the Kurds. That's the only thing he may do. I think you're going to see Baghdad fall, and I think you're going to see the whole state go. And it'll be interesting to see, we talk about Iran's relationship with ISIS, and on the outside, they've turned around and said, hey, you know what? We don't support ISIS, and they need to be stopped and everything. But it'll be interesting to see if Baghdad falls, what Iran does with their military, if they start massing their military or doing airstrikes themselves, or if they do nothing. Well, then that will tell you where they stand.
Well, Turkey did launch airstrikes, but they launched airstrikes against Kurdish rebels within Turkey instead of on ISIS.
So it shows you where they are.
Yeah.
It's very, and again, now we start getting into what does Israel do? And I hate to say that Israel is our hope, but folks, I think Israel's going to be our hope in all this, because if they take Baghdad and they get the Baghdad airport and they start getting all the Baghdad airplanes, and they will have people that can fly them. They're not, I know we like to portray them as these animals who do nothing but chop people's heads off and they drag their women around by the hair. They are far more advanced than media gives them credit for, at least tactically and militarily. There is training that goes into it. Somebody's been training them. And it would not shock me if they have people, and they may not be the best pilots out there, but they may be enough to get up and cause some damage. They may not be the best helicopter pilots, but you know what? They may be able to fly a little Bell helicopter and throw some rockets downrange. The threat is there. Never mind the oil and what they can do with that. And honestly, I don't even care about the oil aspect of it. I think it's sad that we are cut to the point in our nation that we're allowing this to happen. And we are. We are right now, by not doing anything, I would say this government is almost complicit. Dumping bombs here and there is simply not enough to stop this threat. We all know that. That's not a shock. Putting 300, 400, 500 people, or I think we're up over 2,000 now, in Iraq to train and oversee is not enough to do it. We have a worldwide scandal, and how soon before North Korea reaches out to them? Hey, we need a buddy.
Right.
How soon to maybe Iran starts working with them? Hey, if you're going to be our neighbor, and that maybe we need to work together too. All this stuff needs to be watched. I mean, you look at Hamas, and you look at what they've been able to, the relationship they've been able to form with Iran. I know they're a proxy for Iran, but it's a mutual relationship. And I say before and I say it again, watch Israel over the next couple months, because once they deem that they're a threat to the Israeli homeland, and they've been really quiet about this. Israel has been extremely quiet, and I think the belief on the Israeli side is that we would actually handle business. And it's not happening.
I think the Israelis know that we're not going to handle business right now with this president.
Well, so they just don't even ask, or they don't get involved because they don't want to deal with him. Perhaps.
Honestly, I think Israel's like, look, we have 2 more years of this president. Hopefully, we get somebody in next that is friendlier to us, and I believe whoever comes in there next will be friendlier than the Obama administration has been, even if it's a Democrat. I think they'll be
no matter who it is.
That's not saying much,
right?
But I think it'll be better than the Obama administration.
The Obama administration wouldn't piss on Israel if they were on fire,
right? Because I think even when Bill Clinton was president, we still maintained a decent relationship with Israel.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure.
No, we did.
So I think they're just kind of waiting for the next president, whoever it is. Don't get me wrong. I hope it's not a Clinton. I hope it's not a progressive.
You notice in Israel and Syria are not far apart, obviously. They share a border, if I remember correctly, if my geography is not horrible.
And if it is, it's over there somewhere.
It's over there somewhere. Israel already has a stake in this. They already have a concern in this. If the Syrian government falls, ISIS is at their border. If the Iraq falls, they have the ability to reach out and touch Israel. You'll notice out of all those partners in the region that were involved in the bombing runs, Jordan, UAE, Saudi Arabia, us, I think the Qataris donated a sponge or something like that. Israel was not. And out of all the air forces around there, if there's one air force who is extremely good at what they do, it's the Israeli Air Force. And they did not take part in those attacks. And that tells you that it's already more important about not hurting feelings versus stopping the threat. Because if you really wanted to stop the threat, you would have the Israelis be involved. You would be massing our troops in Israel right now, a safe place for our troops.
Okay. I just saw a story. And there is a major, major country that has just issued a travel ban that bars people from coming from West African Ebola nations. And it's St. Lucia. Hey, President Obama, St. Lucia gets it right.
St. Lucia?
What do they have, like 4 people? And one of them's the prime minister?
Well, they take turns being the prime
Oh,
minister.
I forgot about that. And Colombia.
Colombia. The drug capital of the world.
Oh, yes.
Cocaine, baby.
Yeah. Hey, all the coke you want, but hey, you freaks with Ebola countries coming in here.
Get the hell
away from us. We don't want your business.
And we can't. And you know what? Iggy quoted Ann Coulter in the chat room, and I completely agree.
St. Lucia. I mean, good for them. I'm not deminimizing what they've done. Good for them.
Egg says that's where we should dock and maybe flag our aircraft carrier.
It's St. Lucia.
St. Lucia, because they get it.
I love it.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful place from what I've heard.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's rum and stuff. You can't go wrong with it.
No, my favorite drink in the world.
Sacco, you coming to St. Lucia with us? No. No.
It's the Caribbean.
Dude.
We could be pirates.
And not really attack anything, but just dress up like them.
Yeah, we're just dress up like them on our aircraft carrier. Say R all the time.
Dude, if we had an aircraft carrier, you wouldn't go with us to St. Lucia?
What's
We
wrong
do the
with you?
show.
We'll do the show. It would really be pirate radio.
It would be absolute pirate radio.
Look at our symbol. We're halfway there. It's crossed microphones and a skull with a bag.
Sacco, I will let you be in charge of the catapult on the aircraft carrier.
and that's what took it.
That's all it was. A bargaining chip.
There.
It was a bargaining chip.
Yeah.
I want to see what Sacco's going to launch off the aircraft carrier. Just chairs and
giant squid,
Greenpeace
hippies.
Shoot it off. So St. Lucia is on the Sacco. St. Lucia's on the forefront of doing what we can't. They're trying to stop Ebola, which, I mean, if you consider they're, 8 city blocks long? I mean, it's not hard for them to stop it.
But the fact that they are, right? And I don't know if it's 8 city blocks, it may be like 3. So anything even coming towards them, like, what's their airspace? What's the St. Lucian airspace?
It's probably about the same as the Sackheads airspace.
Oh, that's my point.
But they get it.
They do get it.
Their government gets it.
Well, they're not going to get it.
Oh, man. But St. Lucia in Colombia.
It's awesome. And in St. Louis, like 60% of their GDP is tourism.
And they're shutting their borders.
Yes, and that's what says something. That's what I'm saying. That is what's so good for them. Because it's a poor country. It really is. Yeah, it's a poor country. They have no industry. Their tourism is their industry. And the fact that they're like, you know what? We don't need your money that bad.
I'd rather be poor than dead.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to turn cruise ships away. But, we're not getting the Ebola people. I don't care.
It shuts down travelers from the West African nations. I don't know how many. Are there a lot of West African cruise lines?
Are there a lot?
I don't know. Like the Love Boat?
Well, I wonder.
There was Isaac the bartender, but other than that,
I wonder if they've had like 3 planes in the last 50 years from East Africa show up and they're like, hey, you know what? We're shutting it down. Shutting it down.
No, but it's travelers, not just the airplanes, right? Like the travelers, because they can track where it's coming from. Oh, you're coming in from the U.S. Ooh, yeah, West Africa. You were there like 27 years ago. Yeah,
sorry.
You're done. Sorry. It may be dormant in you, you freak.
But I was from South Africa.
Yeah, it's you still have it in the name. It's somewhere.
Ag wants to know, because you pulled out Isaac real quick now, who's the racist?
Well, because I pulled out what? Because I congratulated him?
No. You're talking about Isaac and East Africans, and I'm just saying.
It's geographical. And what do people look like?
But you don't know.
Come from
you don't know if he was African.
Africa.
You don't know if he was African.
He was African American. He was hyphenated.
We don't know that.
You don't think he was African American?
No.
What do you think he was?
I never saw his green card.
Why do you assume he has a green card?
Well, I'm just saying.
Because you're a racist pig.
No, I'm just saying. A lot of people that work on cruise ships aren't necessarily Americans.
Right.
Even if they're American cruise ships.
And it was a Princess cruise line, so was he gay also?
What?
If we're going to go down the road of the absurd, let's go.
Just really go down.
Let's just go. Yeah.
Full throttle, baby. Full throttle, baby.
I don't know how we got back on Ebola when we were talking about ISIS. But I'm looking. We're in our wrap up phrase. So what I want to know is this week's matchup.
Okay.
Go.
This week's matchup: Ebola versus enterovirus.
Okay.
Who would win?
Okay. I was thinking. CDC doctor guy.
Ooh.
Right. And Harry Reid.
I'm going to go with Harry Reid.
Why?
He is the devil.
Okay. Well, the devil did go down to Georgia. And
which is where Atlanta is, obviously.
Right. But he lost, if you recall.
Gilligan's Island just reported that we're screening Americans who recently brought in Africa. All flights are shut down.
Ken, you need to write that article and submit it to The Onion.
No, you need to write that article and submit it to SHR Media. We will post that. You get that to me. I will put that up. That is worth every second of it.
That was pretty good.
That is amazing.
Breaking news. Unconfirmed, but breaking from the exceptional conservative himself, who is on the front lines.
I just picture Gilligan just sitting there smoking a joint, being like, no, man, you ain't coming in, sorry. The professor with the coconut gun just shooting them down with coconuts. And then I just picture Marianne and Ginger the rest of the time for no particular reason. But God, that is outstanding. That is brilliance. That is how the world has changed. Little thoughts like that.
Now you like him. Now you like him. You want him to do something for our show. You want him to write an article and get it to SHR Media. And now you like him. Ken, I loved you anyway. Even without the Gilligan Island thing.
What's the
By the way, this week's SHR news poll. Would Ken be welcomed on Gilligan's Island?
Ooh. I would say yes.
Okay.
Just based off the Isaac the bartender theory.
Okay. Different show.
Right, crossover
I don't think
episode.
the cruise ship never ever made it there.
Now Ken's pointing out the fact that now I want it for free.
Yeah, this isn't slave labor. No, I'm sorry, Ken. No pun intended with that. Drink your grape Gatorade, too. Yeah, that doesn't add anything to it, Sean.
Oh, man.
Did you or did you not
Drink my Gape Gatorade. I did.
Okay.
Oh,
While
folks.
talking about Ken.
This has been a long, long week.
It's been a great show.
It has been a blast.
Listen, this was a horrible show maybe for content. I thought it was great. I loved it. I had a lot of fun doing this show.
Well, as we said a couple weeks ago, it's hard to cover topics like this. And listen, the world's a depressing place right now. It really is. Our country's depressing with what's going on.
Like my life is depressing.
Everything's
pretty.
It's really so. We have to find the good in it,
right?
And we have to share with our good friends, and really get the laughs out, and bring you a little bit of content, which is what we like to do. And bring
a little bit of content. Listen, out of 2 hours, you're going to get like a 5-minute nugget of info.
It was a 2-hour political show. We talked about 5 minutes on politics and another 5 minutes on news, and then the rest of the time was just total jackassery. But that's not the point.
I'm gonna amend the board from 2000 until 2150 general jackassery. 2150 to 2155 stuff. 2155 to 2200 wrap up.
And again, for our chatters and listeners, without you, this would not be worth doing it. We have so much fun with you guys, and we're glad you come along on this absolutely crazy ride that we ride every single week.
Which is called a Sibian.
No, that's what you ride every week.
No, that's what Sacco had in the corner. Remember,
I thought that's
what it was.
Forget it.
I'm like, oh, when did we get the electronic bull? And Sacco said, no, that's my Sibian.
It's my Sibian.
I didn't know what it was.
He just strolled in with it one day.
Do you remember that? Perfect. Thank you. People probably thought I was crazy until you just said that.
Oh, man.
Sacco right now is Googling Sibian.
I love the fact that 2 hours he looks up once every 30 minutes to give us the high sign for the commercials.
Right.
And the rest of the time his head is down and just shaking with left and right. No.
Hang on.
No.
There were two times on this show Sacco has picked up his phone, went to it, and then peered over and shook his head at us. One was Merkin. Two was Sibian.
Oh, man.
Listen, we're 2 minutes out.
We are
Election
2
night
minutes out.
tease.
The election night. Now, folks, by the way, Jersey Joe, and he teased it in the chat room, is may have a pretty big interview coming up. So stick to SHR Media. We're going to put it out there. It's definitely somebody you're going to all want to hear, and it's going to be his
You know
first.
what? I like this Rook.
This Rook is doing good.
He is.
I really do. And he's
like this
doing
rookie is. I like him.
Yeah.
Which is difficult for me to say.
He might be Rookie of the Year.
It's difficult for me to say.
It might be Rookie of the Year.
It might be Rookie of the Year.
I'm just saying.
Right. We need his rookie card.
We do. Sacco, can you get us a rookie card? No. Okay, good. So make sure you follow SHR Media and at politic_Reaver on Twitter, and we're going to tease that out more. Election night. You need to be with SHR Media and Pundit Press as we go through the entire day. Jason Miller's flying up. He's going to be in the SHR studios.
For those of you that don't like being bossed around, I would greatly appreciate it if you join us on SHR Media Network for election night coverage. Okay, go ahead.
We're going to be here all day, starting early. We're going to carry Dan's show. I think actually we're going to carry a couple shows early with Pundit Press, and then we're going to each simulcast between the two. We're going to have all the up-to-date numbers that we could talk about, all the news. We're going to have different people covering different regions, and I'll go through the list. Ken's already hit me because the Black Host can't be Rookie of the Year. Ken,
you're not a rookie, Ken.
You're not a rookie, buddy.
Yeah, you're not a. I'm sorry, Ken. I gotta side with Sean on this one.
You're our Ken Griffey. I don't know what the problem is.
Yeah. You know what? You get African American SHR Media Host of the Year.
We're gonna get that framed and sent right over to you.
Ethnic Host of the Year.
Ethnic Host under politics between Monday through Friday in the evening goes to
in the evening between the hours of
Ken McClinton of the Exceptional Conservative Show. Oh! So please join us on election night. We're going to have so much great content. A chat room will be
Not
going
like
all day.
tonight. It's actually going to be.
We may have some video cameras going in the studio. We're really going to try to do a lot that night. So make sure you join us and share the fun with us as we go through and find out what is.
You told them about our in-studio guest?
I did it.
The one and only?
Yeah, news director Jason Miller will be in studio. So it'll be fun and exciting. And the next 2 years is going to be big in this country, folks.
I may have to change his name to Hassan.
Hassan. We'll find that. Sacco, prepare the change. You're going back in the box, my friend. This closes out another great episode of the Sackheads Radio Show here on the SHR Media Network. Stand by. Windrock is coming up this week in their first economic update. We will see you next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific here on the Sackheads Radio Show.
I'll see you in a couple minutes.
I'll
here,
see you in a few minutes.
That was a fun show.
That was a fun show.
Like,
Ken, play us out, baby.
That was great. And I like this music, too.
This is awesome.
Sacco nailed this.
Yeah, of course he did. It's Sacco.
I know. He's like silent
Bob
partner over there.
Yeah.
He just hangs out. And he's good for a laugh. He like comes out of one-liners like out of nowhere. Does anybody have an egret?
You should see what he can do with the GoPro.
Does anybody have an egret?
An egret.
I need it for that thing. Remember? It was that bet. I told you I was going to.
But I don't know how you're going to get it removed.
I don't need it removed. Who's going to remove it?
Are we still on?
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
Don't forget to check out Agador and Kel and Islam Exposed, as well as Agador and the Unpleasant Blind Guy. I got it in. All right, now play us. Oh, wait.
Now you're making fun of people with disabilities.
All right, just close my mic.